CNN's Fareed Zakaria opens with what should be a slam dunk. US and Israeli strikes have hammered Iran for months. Tehran itself estimates $270 billion in damage. Inflation was already over 40%. Ordinary Iranians are getting crushed. So why no surrender? Fareed's answer isn't mysterious. Washington just keeps pretending not to hear it. Nationalism matters, sure. But Fareed also notes Iran isn't an economic cartoon. Steel, petrochemicals, food, cars for domestic demand, 7 land borders, ports still moving cargo. This isn't a country that only pumps crude and prays. That's why the surrender fantasy keeps whiffing. You can't bomb your way out of a diversified siege economy. Here's the savage part for dollar maximalists. The Wall Street Journal found Iran's oil sales increasingly settle in Chinese yuan. 2024, roughly $43 billion in oil revenue, most in yuan. Tehran also uses cryptocurrency because blockchains don't send thank you notes to Treasury. Sanctions didn't kill trade, they rerouted it. Follow Fareed's logic. If your enemy can't track the money and your buyer is the world's largest energy importer, you've built a wartime economy. The US freezes accounts. Iran still moves product through channels Washington can't fully interdict. That's strategy, not luck. And Beijing isn't exactly rushing to enforce America's wish list. Now the line that should end naive sanctions talk. Fareed cites Kevin Harris and Reuters. Elite assets flowed into boneyards and IRGC-linked firms across shipping, construction, oil, telecom. Reuters notes sanctions strengthened guard control because the guard runs smuggling. Maybe half the economy. Pain for civilians. Profit for men with guns and shell companies. Trump negotiates like he's dealing with a CEO who needs quarterly earnings. He's not. Isolation wrecks Iranians buying medicine. It feeds clerics, bonyads, besieged networks, and cheap loans for loyalists. Fareed's blunt, sanctions are bad for the country, good for rulers. Anti-American posture isn't just ideology, it's payroll. The siege is the business model. Then Hormuz. Fareed calls it perhaps the largest oil supply disruption in history. 20 million barrels a day, a fifth of global supply, and Iran plays gatekeeper. Prices spike, but Fareed flags the expiration date. UAE speeding a Fujairah pipeline. Saudi Arabia pushing barrels through Yanbu. Gulf states eyeing rail to bypass the choke point. Pipelines aren't magic. Drones hit them. Trains can't match supertankers. But every month Iran chokes Hormuz. Neighbors invest in not needing Tehran's permission again. That's how leverage dies, slowly and permanently. Iran gets headlines today and motivates the world to root around it tomorrow. Beijing imports at least 3 million fewer barrels daily than pre-war. Reserves stocked, factories on coal and renewables. JP Morgan says demand fell from consumer choice and EVs. Highway EV charging jumped 56% on May Day. People drive electric because they can. Fareed pulls the 1973 parallel. That shock rewired economies, fuel standards, nuclear build-outs, public transit. Today's crisis remixes it. Work-from-home days, rationing, rooftop solar pushes, heat pump mandates. Necessity, not virtue posts. Iran may lose Hormuz leverage just as the world learns to need less of what Tehran sells. Oops. Enter Trump's whiplash. Fareed runs the tape. At NATO, Iran's leaders are cuckoo, evil, sick, a cancer. Earlier, accept ceasefire or civilization dies tonight. Then June brings a memorandum. Temporary sanctions relief, rebuild money, maybe ballistic missiles for everyone, honored to meet the new supreme leader. Arch-villain to eager dinner guest before appetizers. Fareed says, don't act surprised. North Korea got the same playlist, fire and fury. Little Rocket Man. Then Singapore. Great personality. Fell in love through letters. DMZ'd photos. No deal. Kim moved on. Now maybe 60 warheads, North America-capable ICBMs, Russian ammo, troops in Ukraine. Sticks, carrots, nothing. Iran watched that rerun in HD. Fareed's conclusion is brutal. Volatile diplomacy didn't work on North Korea and isn't working on Iran. You're squeezing a security state whose bosses profit from siege, not a CEO. When buyers need energy, Trump treats nuclear crises like reality TV, same empty finale.